Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight's story is based on chilling true events told by the few who survived. Deep inside a forgotten jungle on the border of Malaysia, a team of 4 researchers set out to trace ancient ruins. But on the very first night, the jungle went silent. Not a single insect, not a single bird. Then came the smell, thick frangipani, sweet and rotten, though no flowers grew for miles. Their guide, Rahman, warned them in a whisper. Don't look up into the canopy, and whatever you do, don't answer if you hear a child crying. Stay with me until the end, because we're going to uncover what they found, why these rules exist, and what happened when someone broke them. Don't forget to subscribe. You won't want to miss the terrifying truth waiting deeper in this jungle. The expedition begins under a dense emerald canopy, the 4-person research team stepping carefully over moss-covered roots. Rahman, the seasoned local guide, walks ahead with quiet vigilance, his machete tapping the ground before each step. Behind him, 3 researchers follow. Amir, the youngest, restless and eager. Dr. Marina, the pragmatic leader with a weather-stained journal. And Jamal, the quiet surveyor who trusts instruments more than folklore. Their banter is light at first, Amir joking about hidden treasure beneath the soil, his laughter cutting through the stillness. Rahman doesn't join in. His face stays unreadable, his eyes scanning the tree line. The first evening is spent setting up camp by a narrow stream, the air heavy with humidity and the chirring of unseen insects. They choose not to light a fire. The canopy is too dry, too close, and they work by headlamps, their shadows thrown long against the trees. Their satellite phone picks up no signal. Jamal shrugs, marking it down as expected. The jungle seems to lean closer as night falls, swallowing their voices. The stream gurgles softly, a reminder that at least water is near. When the others finally retreat to their tents, Amir stays up, sketchbook balanced on his knee, tracing the shapes of roots and abandoned stone markers they'd found earlier. He listens to the night, half expecting to hear something move. His headlamp catches the gleam of Rahman's machete, propped upright in the ground like a silent sentinel. Sleep comes late for Amir, broken by the occasional splash of a fish or rustle of leaves. This opening is familiar. An ordinary field expedition with cautious planning and shared curiosity. There is nothing overtly threatening here, just a team doing its job, setting up for a week of mapping ancient trade routes. But the subtle dissonance, the silence between Rahman's words, the absence of a fire, the way the canopy seems to muffle sound, plants the first seed of unease. It makes the audience think, this could be anyone's research trip, anyone's first night in the wild, and whatever happens next could happen to them. Morning came grey and heavy, the air still damp from the night before. As the team unzipped their tents, each of them froze. Outside, every entrance sat a small, perfectly balanced stack of river stones. No footprints, no signs of an animal, just deliberate markers that hadn't been there hours ago. Rahman crouched to examine them, his jaw tightening, but said nothing. Amir laughed nervously, suggesting it was just a prank, or maybe the wind had knocked stones together, but even he didn't sound convinced. While packing up, Amir admitted he'd had a strange dream. In it, a woman with wet hair hung suspended beyond the tree line, her body swaying in a wind he couldn't feel. Her face had been hidden, but the image was so vivid that he woke with his heart hammering. The others brushed it off, calling it jungle fever, the kind of dream you have when you're tired and disoriented. They laughed about ghost stories, but no one truly smiled. Then they noticed the jungle itself, or rather what was missing. The chatter of birds, the drone of insects, the rustle of small animals, all gone. The jungle was too quiet, unnaturally so, as though the world had been muted. Even their own voices felt swallowed, soundless beyond the circle of their camp. They decided to keep moving, telling themselves that getting back to the main trail would settle their nerves. Rahman urged them not to linger, his eyes scanning the tree canopy more than the path ahead. Amir sketched the stone piles in his notebook, as though needing proof that they were real. For the audience, the scene is no longer ordinary. The stone markers feel like a silent count, the dream like a warning that something is watching. The sudden absence of sound suggests they've stepped into a place where normal rules no longer apply, and the characters, despite their attempts to rationalize, have just crossed the first threshold into something they may not escape. By noon, the canopy is so dense they use headlamps to read the map. The sweet rotten frangipani breath returns, not a gust, a film on the tongue. They mark a straight corridor of ribbon between two strangler figs and walk it in single file, 30 minutes, maybe 40, until Amir points to a flutter of green ahead. Their ribbon, same knot, same tier. The path has become a circle, and no one can agree on when it turned. The GPS redraws their trail as a spiraling scribble, then a perfect ring, then refuses to record at all. Compasses twitch as if shivering. Multipath error, says Marina, tapping the device. Rahman tightens his jaw, says nothing. Twice they leave a cairn of river stones. Twice the same cairn reappears in front of them with a darker, wetter stone on top, as if counted by an unseen hand. Each time, the scent grows sweeter. Back at camp, one tent has folded on itself. The center pole isn't bent, it's broken clean like a chicken bone. Guy lines slack, fabric creased inward, as if something heavy had stepped down from above. The mud yields no print, no boar, no cat, no human, only a smooth round depression the size of a bowl, and leaves pasted to canvas in a pattern that looks too deliberate to be wind. Age fatigue, says Marina. Cheap alloy. Amir just sketches the fracture and cannot explain why he draws long strands of hair across the page. Night returns with the silence that isn't peace. The jungle hush clamps over the tent so tightly that every zipper sounds criminal. Then, from the black just beyond the firelight, comes a threadbare laugh. Dry, breathless, like air pulled through a cracked flute. It moves around them without footsteps. A second laugh answers from higher in the trees. Civet, insists Marina, but her voice is too fast. The radios hiss with a sound like someone trying not to breathe. Rahman sprinkles ash in a circle and tells them, lightly, to keep their voices low, as if lightness could disguise a rule. The events repeat. The sweetness thickens. The laughs draw closer, thinner, hungrier. And every time the hair on their arms rises, the jungle pretends it has nothing at all to say. The jungle had been quiet for hours, but now the silence broke with a sound that sliced straight through the team's nerves. A child's cry, thin and close, like it was just beyond the tent wall. At first it was only a whimper, but then it grew into a wail, and with each sob came a scratching, slow, deliberate, against the canvas, as if tiny hands were peeling the fabric back, strip by strip. Amir sat upright, paralyzed, while Rahman mouthed a warning. Don't answer. The sound spread along the tent's skin, circling them, until it stopped right at the entrance. Then came the figure. At the very edge of the firelight stood something impossibly pale, its hair dragging along the forest floor like wet vines. Its eyes were wide and unblinking, shining with a faint reflection that made them look too large for its face. Its mouth hung open in a perfect circle, silent, even as the crying continued all around them, as if coming from the trees themselves. The figure tilted its head, jerky and wrong, then leaned forward until its hair brushed the dirt. No one moved. The air felt heavy, thick as honey, pressing them down. The tent poles rattled with a sudden gust, and the fire flared once before hissing low. In that moment, one of the researchers snapped, grabbing his pack and bolting into the dark, his footsteps vanishing almost instantly, as if the night had swallowed him whole. Rahman tried to call him back, but his voice caught in his throat. Amir felt his chest lock, unable to scream, unable to breathe, as the figure took one step closer, without sound, without weight, before it dissolved backward into the tree line, leaving only the echo of crying that faded into nothing. When the jungle went silent again, no one dared move for a long time. The tent smelled of torn earth and something sweet, rotten, like frangipani left to spoil. They were still alive, but the jungle had chosen its mark. The jungle claimed Amir without a sound. When the others turned, his place by the fire was empty. Only his boots remained, upright in the dirt as if his feet were still inside them. The laces were still neatly tied, each eyelet perfect. Rahman's face hardened. This was the payment the jungle had taken. No one spoke. Rahman knelt and gathered Amir's remaining clothes into a pile. The smell of blood clung to them like smoke, thick and sweet, threatening to call something back. With hands that didn't shake, he struck a match and set the pile ablaze. Flames hissed low, licking the fabric until it curled into blackened ash. He drew a rough circle with what remained, enclosing the group within a ring of dust and soot. "Stay inside," he whispered. "Not a word, not a look behind you." The retreat began before dawn. They moved in single file, shoulders brushing, every step sinking into the damp earth. The jungle seemed to lean closer, the branches drooping low as if to listen. Every crunch of a leaf was too loud, every breath a risk. No one dared turn to check if they were being followed. When they finally broke through the tree line, the sky was pale and empty, but relief didn't come. Their bodies ached as if they had carried something with them, an invisible weight pressing on their backs. Even as they reached the trucks, silence stayed between them. The circle of ash still clung to their skin, streaked down their legs like war paint. Rahman drove without speaking, his eyes fixed on the road, jaw locked. Beside him, another researcher clutched Amir's boots, refusing to let them go. In their minds, the crying still echoed, faint but close, as if it had followed them out. They had survived, yes, but the jungle had left its mark, on their bodies, their dreams, and in the space where Amir should have been. And deep inside, they all knew the unspoken truth. They had made it out only because the jungle let them. Rahman finally speaks, his voice low, as if the jungle itself is listening. "This is Pontianak country," he says. "She is a woman who died while carrying a child, buried under a banana tree so the spirit could not leave the earth." The revelation lands like a stone in their chests. Suddenly, the choked sweetness of frangipani, the stacked stones, and the counting cries from the dark are no longer random horrors. They are signs, warnings they ignored. He kneels near the nearest stone pile and brushes away the moss. "These are boundary markers," he explains. "You don't cross them unless you want her to follow you. And you have stepped over everyone." The memory hits them, the path where the GPS looped, the leaning stones they thought were natural formations, the circle they walked through without thought. Amir's dream of the swaying, wet-haired figure is no longer a dream. It was her first appearance. The laughter in the wind was her counting. The peeling tent was her scratching her way in. Every moment since they entered the jungle had been part of a ritual they didn't know they were participating in. Rahman's hands tremble as he outlines the final piece. When she counts you completely, she comes to claim you. That is why the crying is getting closer. She is finishing the count. The team feels the jungle closing in, the air pressing heavy as if waiting for the last number to be called. The revelation leaves them pale and wordless. What they thought were coincidences were invitations. What they ignored were rules. And now, With night falling again, they know the truth. She will not stop until the tally is complete. Would you answer a crying voice in a silent jungle? The team escaped after 2 days, scattered back to their lives, but the memory followed them like a shadow. Rahman was never seen again. Weeks later, Amir's notebook arrived by post, pages full of frantic sketches of a pale woman with hair down to her knees, and a single word written again and again: Pontianak. The final page still carried the sweet, rotting scent of frangipani, even though there were no flowers nearby. In Malaysian folklore, the Pontianak is a spirit born from a woman who died unjustly while pregnant. She's said to live near banana trees, luring the curious with a baby's cry, counting those who cross into her territory, and striking when they are alone. The stone stacks they saw, they were warnings, marks that someone had been counted. So what do you think? Were they spared by chance, or by following the rules Rahman whispered that first night? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because next time we'll uncover another legend that may be closer to your own backyard than you think.